It's my privilege and honor to present to you one of the sons of Israel Abel, Yisran Hawkins.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. May the peace of Yahweh be with each and every one of you. You may be seated. Today I would like to talk to you about the attitude of servitude. First Yahshua served, Yahweh served first and Yisrael Hawkins served and teaches us how to serve also. Please turn over to Matthew 20, verse 26 through 28, found on page 748. But this must not be so among you, for whoever will be great among you, let him be your servant. And whoever will be first among you, he must be a slave. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be waited on, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. Second, the Apostle Saul talked to us about serving and to be like Yahshua Messiah. Please turn over to Philippians 2, verse 5 through 7, found on page 922. And it says, let this mind be in you, which was also in Yahshua Messiah, who being in the form of Yahweh did not think it was something to be seized upon, to be equal with Yahweh, but based himself, taking the form of a servant, made like men being born. Each of us must develop Yahweh's caring love character of servitude to others. We can serve like Yahweh by serving others. We can serve like Satan and serve ourselves. Remember, attitude of servitude. In conclusion, remember, we have to have the attitude of servitude, not servitude with an attitude. May Yahweh bless your understanding. I'd like to turn it over to the next speaker.
If you all please stand, it's a pleasure and honor to present to you a son of Yisrael Abel, Deacon David Knighton Hawkins.
Shalom, righteous, royal, purple saints of Yahweh. Please be seated. Wow. I'm glad to see everybody rejoicing. Just remember to rejoice all day, every day of this feast, even when something comes your way that you're maybe kind of pushes the button just a little bit. Just remember, it's for your learning, so you should rejoice in that. One quick correction on the announcement. The classes start at 6:30. The classes start at 6:30 all throughout the feast, okay? 6:30 p.m., all right? Please remember that, because these are important classes that we all need. All right, so today is a very special day. We're going to be viewing a video here in just a moment, and I'd just like to kind of set the stage for it. This is how the multitudes, what you're going to see is how the multitudes are seeing the need for the Peaceful Solution Character Education program. And the people that are using it, the schools, the businesses, the governments that are using the Peaceful Solution are seeing the results of it. They're seeing it come forth. They can actually step back and say, you know, there's been a change here. And that's what we're looking for. That's what the Peaceful Solution Character Education program guarantees to everybody that will take hold of this program. You're going to see some schools, some things in the schools where the teachers are talking about the Sons of Israel Able that we're presenting. You're also going to see some government offices, some officials that we're very pleased to have us come by and visit with them and give them the solution. And you'll even see some of those offices, they're actually calling back. They're calling back and making sure the door is open for us to get through and get what we need so we can help them get what they need for the solution to their problems. It's really awesome. And better than me talking about it, I guess right now, if you pay attention to the video. Can we go ahead and get the first video?
Here. It's just so exciting to have you here. We've all been very excited about your visit.
Well, let me just tell you a little bit about what we do at the Fourth Court. I'm going to move over here to show you the map of Texas. Well, every county has a different number of trial benches depending on the population. But when a trial is over, whether it's a divorce case or a probate case or a car accident case or a murder case or an assault case or a DWI, anyone who wants to appeal it can file a notice of appeal with the Intermediate Court of Appeals.
The Peaceful Solution is a nonprofit organization, and we strive to teach peace.
Well, we would teach them, and the program, it will teach the students before the problem ever arises. It is really, the Peaceful Solution can work for people of all ages, no matter how young they are or how old they are.
May I approach?
Certainly.
I'd like you to see Exhibit A.
And if you want to go ahead and ask.
Very well.
Well, again, we really appreciate you all being here, and we appreciate what you do. Keep up the good work. We have a certificate for each of you that reflects just that you were here with us today. So I'd like to present this to Bill Hawkins. You're very welcome. Mel Hawkins. How do you say your name? Alvin Shalom. That's a beautiful name.
Sam Hawkins.
Keep up the good work, Sam.
And Jacob Hawkins.
Severun Heiler. Hawakia. Is that you? And Israel Hawkins.
Am I friendly? Samuel Vine. David Hawkins. Hawkins family is strong.
Well, good. Well, again, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you here today, and we wish you the best of luck. So thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Character traits are like if you're compassionate or responsible, merciful or courageous or things like that. Those are character traits.
You must first learn to respect yourself, which is called self-respect. Because if you can't properly respect yourself, then how can you respect someone else? Because you won't know what the meaning of respect is.
This is the character unit of the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program, and it teaches how to have a positive moral character. Well, education is the answer. And the Peaceful Solution, we teach respect, that's one of the books. And how everyone has value.
What you're talking about here is more important, and that child and our kids are going to do better off, learning responsibility, learning not to use drugs, learning, something about their health.
The Peaceful Solution Character Education Program, it works for any ages, and we teach different concepts like what I just told you. We're out there to make the world a better place. And responsibility, you want someone that you can count on to do different things. You don't want someone that you can't count on. They say, I'll do this, this, and this for you, and they never do it.
Chair recognizes Senator Hoffman for an introduction.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President and members, I'd like to take a moment to recognize the group in the northwest corner of the gallery here with the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program. The Peaceful Solution Program is a non-profit organization founded in 1994. In the past 2 years alone, the group has taught over 70,000 students in Texas public, private, and alternative schools how to prevent and solve conflicts in a peaceful way, how to put an end to bullying, and how to say no to negative influences and to make right choices. Pershing Middle School in my district is the second largest middle school in Houston and was the first to implement the program school-wide with great success. Why don't y'all stand here, the group here representing Peaceful Solution Character Program, and thank you for all your hard work. Thanks for being here. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator.
Good. I could use some self-control.
There you go.
Like we make issue a decision, and if the legislature doesn't like it, they can pass a law, pass a new law. So say they pass a law, it comes to us to decide what that law means.
And that's exactly what this program does, as a matter of fact, is it teaches in a very common sense way how to actually, it teaches you how to think. It teaches you, the proper way to control your thoughts.
So as I said, whether your character is positive or negative depends upon many factors. Now these factors include genetics, family values, influences, and we're going to go over some influences today, experiences, choices, and environment. If you have a positive character, you would be honest. We'll be getting into some character traits, and we need to value the positive character traits.
Sitting here with Evelyn Allen with Central High School. She's a social worker with Central High School, and thank you very much for having us today at your school. And we kind of wanted to get some feedback from you about the making of a healthy mind, body, and attitude fair that we had today.
Okay, first of all, this is our 13th health fair, and this is you all's second time being here, or third time? Fourth time. Time certainly flies, doesn't it? Anyway, I think it was superb. Each year it seemed to get better and better. But I want to say something to you. We now use this program in our school.
That is excellent. That's awesome news. So, how have you implemented the Peaceful Solution in Central High School?
It's being taught as a character education program, and it's being taught within our group. Support groups.
And what kind of results have you seen so far?
Well, what it does, it minimizes conflict, and children know that they're going to be gaining some skills into the sword book.
And can you say a few words about our young teachers that were here? They've come here, every year, and we'd kind of like to get your feedback on how you...
We think they're awesome. We've gotten good feedback today. Our teachers respond quickly if it's good. And today we've gotten positive feedback about your being in the rooms and your presentations.
That's great.
Mm-hmm. And the young people, they're just awesome. They're well-mannered, very respectful. And from the pieces that I've heard, because I don't get to just set in, they really know their information. They know how to present well.
What are your plans in the future with the Peaceful Solution here?
Well, it just depends on what they can have to offer, because you're doing so much already. And to have brought the program to our school, the Wellness Center is where we coordinate activities for children who need support. And now we've incorporated it into our support groups. So if we could expand it, we would like to expand it. In fact,
do you have anything you'd like to say to the author of the program regarding the Peaceful Solution? He's the one that sends us all here.
Well, first of all, I want to thank that person, because you have to have some insight and wisdom to know what children need early on. The mere fact that he chose to start the children at a very young age, because we've had younger children than this present in our school, am I correct? As young as, 8 years maybe of age? And they're talking to high schoolers. Now that was a little disconcerting for the high schools to think that someone as young as 8 could come in and teach them something. So it lets you know the sooner you start, the more success you're going to have. And we just appreciate you all so much, and we see through your children what a program does. Your children are a good representation of what this type of program does.
Oh boy, how about that? That is amazing. Praise Yahweh. You can be seated. I'll tell you what, the Supreme Court of Texas, the 4th District Appeals Court, which is the appeals court. I don't know if y'all noticed when she showed you on that on the map, but it was all in purple. That entire district was in purple. You'll probably get an opportunity to see it again. But I'll tell you, to have the Texas Senate to stand up, a standing ovation for the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program, with the senator telling what it has done in her district, the success that the schools have had. That is exciting, isn't it? Praise Yahweh. I'll tell you what. And then, what about this lady at the 13th annual wellness clinic, all right? The wellness clinic, remember that? That's what she runs, is the wellness clinic. This is where the students come when we've got teen pregnancies and drug problems and behavioral problems. This particular school even has a on-site nursery for the mothers that go to school there. An on-site nursery, because there's so many unwed teen mothers with children, so they can continue their education. But she's the one who takes care of all that, and so the Peaceful Solution is in the right place to move forward. It is just so awesome. And you heard it from her mouth saying how well that the student teachers do. These teachers, these sons of Israel able, these teachers of the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program. So awesome. All right. Now, one thing that you noticed, that particular clinic, that wellness clinic, was gaining a healthy mind, body, and attitude. And I thought it was very interesting, that took place in March. And we also have a prophetic word that was brought out in March. And in that prophetic word itself, you'll hear some more about it, but it talks about having a healthy mind. And of course, the peaceful solution is all about a healthy body and a rejoicing attitude. A rejoicing attitude. A rejoicing attitude, right? Even if something comes your way that you don't quite like at first, kick it back and realize it's for your training, for your learning, for your understanding and your growth, okay? Now, we've got one more thing we'd like you to look at. We want you to really realize how the peaceful solution is moving forth and how not only schools and businesses and courts are asking for the peaceful solution, but also the world leaders, the most powerful world leaders out there, are saying they need the peaceful solution program, okay? This is what I want you to really watch this close and listen to what's being said. And remember, we're running this race. This is the race that we're running, and we're gaining ground right now. Soon we are going to be overtaking, and we're going to be on the winning path. We're on the winning path now, but we're going to be there at that last point to the finish line, and we are going to win this race. So watch as the world's most powerful leaders ask for the peaceful solution.
We cannot close the door on diplomacy, and we cannot rule out peaceful solutions to the world's problems. And we cannot rule out peaceful solutions to the world's problems. We cannot commit ourselves to an endless cycle of conflict. And tough talk and bluster may be the easy thing to do politically, but it's not the right thing for our security.
And I have a deeply held preference for peaceful solutions. And I have a deeply held preference for peaceful solutions.
So what are we looking at if we choose to live without rules? If we choose to live without rules? No matter how uncomfortable and stringent those rules are. And now such a scenario cannot be ruled out either, considering the tension in the world nowadays. Some trends enable us to give a forecast, and that is not very optimistic unless we manage to create a clear system of mutual responsibilities and arrangements.
Praise Yahweh. Mr. Obama, Mr. Putin, your prayers have been answered. We're fixing to give you exactly what you're looking for right now. If you'll all please stand. It's my great honor and privilege to present to you one of the sons of Israel Abel, the great white buffalo, the great white buffalo.
Shalom, everyone. May the peace of Yahweh be with each and every one of you. You may be seated. Today I'm going to be talking about how the missionary work is continuing to grow. You might want to put on your seatbelts because we're going to get right into it. First, I'm going to start out with the definition of the word missionary from the Webster's Second New Riverside University Dictionary. I can't wait till the day we look up all our words in the Okie Dictionary. But here it says, one sent on a mission, one sent to do a charitable work in a territory or foreign country. And we are doing a charitable work in foreign countries, and even in this country. The house of Yahweh is warning the world at this time that their sins will bring death. And the peaceful solution is spreading. It's continuing to spread. The peaceful solution is in 28 different countries right now, and it's still spreading. And you just saw a minute part of the work that is being done with the peaceful solution. The peaceful solution is Yahweh's laws in a watered down in a milk form so that the world can understand. But later they will be given Yahweh's laws in a meat form. Whoever doesn't think that the peaceful solution is the laws of Yahweh being taught to the world, I got news for you. It is. I'm going to show you one quick example. The peaceful solution teaches not to steal. That it's also one of Yahweh's laws, one of the 10 Commandments. And that's just one example of things that the peaceful solution teaches. Yahweh's laws teach to show respect, compassion, and consideration. The peaceful solution is doing this charitable work in many different countries. If you will turn over to page 561 in your book of Yahweh, Isaiah 49 verse 6, it says, "And he said, it is not enough that you should be my servant to raise up the tribes of Jacob and to restore the protected of Israel. I will also give you for a light to the Gentiles." This peaceful solution is Yahweh's laws. It is the light to the Gentiles. The light is being brought to these people. So you may be my salvation to the ends of the earth. This peaceful solution is the salvation of Yahweh, and there is no doubt about it. It is being brought to these people in the world, and the darkness is starting to take hold of the light. The peaceful solution is in 28 different countries, and it is still spreading. And this includes the Skype classes. This includes all the classes that are being done when we go on this missionary work that you just saw in the film. It's actually a lot. If you don't realize it, it's a lot to be recognized by the state senate. That is one huge recognition. So just remember, this peaceful solution is spreading, and you are part of it at this time. And with that, I would like to turn over to learn more about the work that the peaceful solution is doing. I would like to turn over to another son of Yisrael Abel, Deacon Melchizedek Hawkins.
Shalom, everyone. You may be seated. May the peace of Yahweh be with each and every one of you. Today I'd like to speak on the topic of how teaching peace will help the world. And right now, as we look in the world, we see the horror, the chaos, the misery, the curses, death. And you see also that the world is groping at this time for answers. Also war, vengeance, retaliation, no peace or joy. Now, all of this is because they don't practice the laws of Yahweh, which is the peaceful solution. And this was also prophesied in, if we turn over to Deuteronomy 28. Deuteronomy 28, and it's on page 169. Okay, let's start off with verse 1. Deuteronomy 28, verse 1. It says, "And it will be, if you will listen diligently to the voice of Yahweh your Father, by observing and doing all his laws, which I command you this day, that Yahweh your Father will set you high above the nations on the earth, and as his kings and queens." And then verse 9, let's skip down to verse 9. It says, "Yahweh will establish you as his holy people unto himself, as he promised you on oath, if you will keep the laws of Yahweh your Father and walk in his ways." Verse 10, it says, "Then all the people on the earth will see that you are called by the name of Yahweh, and they will fear you." And then verse 14, it says, "If you will diligently observe to do all of the Yahweh's law, and will not turn from any of his laws which I command you this day, from the right hand nor to the left hand, by going after any god else to serve it. So these are the blessings that Yahweh will give you. Now let's look at the curses. Okay, verse 15. It says, however, if you do not obey Yahweh, your Father, by carefully following all his laws, his statutes, and which I command you this day, then all these curses will come upon you and accompany you. Let's go to verse 29. And it says, and you will grope at noonday, reduced to blind helplessness, just as a blind man gropes in the darkness. You will not be successful in any of your ways. You will be oppressed and robbed continually, with no one to rescue you. And in verse 46 and verse 47, it says, and all these curses shall come upon you, and your descendants forever, for a sign and for a wonder. Verse 47 says, because you did not serve Yahweh your Father joyfully with gladness of heart in the time of great abundance. All right, so this is what's going on in the world right now, and that's why we are spreading the message of how we could solve all the world's problems with the laws of Yahweh, which is the peaceful solution. And this program has been proven to work in schools and prisons, the workplace, daycare centers, rec centers, churches, juvenile detention, clubs, and courts. All right, so in conclusion, I'd like to say, we are running a race and we are opposing Babylon at this time. And we will win. Satan will not win. Yahweh will. And with that, everyone please stand. And I'll turn it over to son of Yisrael Abel, Deacon Abba Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. You may be seated. May the peace of Yahweh be with each and every one of you. Now, the prophecies are coming to pass in this generation, and like Pastor Yisrael Hawkins said on the first day of feast, or actually on Yeshua's memorial and the first day of feast, we're running this race, so we're opposing Babylon. And the work is growing day by day, and we're winning this race. Pastors bringing out the press releases that are reaching millions of news agencies, and the news agencies are reaching millions of people. So it's getting out there. The message is getting out there. And then there's judges, there's schools, parents, congressmen, senators, even presidents who are actually crying out for these answers. And with the peaceful solution, we have the answers. Do we believe that? Do we believe that we have the answers? Putin, Obama, he's calling for a peaceful solution. We have the answers. We can help them. So we are running this race. And if you could turn over to Hebrews. Pastor quoted the scripture. I think it was Yeshua's memorial. It's Hebrews 12:1. It says, therefore, since we are surrounded with such a great cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which so easily entraps us. And let us run the race that is set before us with endurance. Okay, let us run this race with endurance. Don't give up. Okay, keep trying to push this message. And Babylon is falling. It's falling very fast, like Revelations 18 prophesied. More and more people are starting to realize how Babylon is falling. They're realizing how Satan, what's going on in this world and the problems, and they're asking for a peaceful solution. Just recently, there's been many schools asking for this peaceful solution. Judges, they've been asking for that help. It's been implemented in schools, 2 schools like you heard about. Even courtrooms have implemented this peaceful solution. And we've actually taught in the courtrooms, in the judicial system. But it's our moral obligation to help them. Okay, we're commissioned this work in these last days. It's our obligation to help these people.
So we need to put our best foot forward, actually strive to help them to the best we can, because we have the answers, okay? We have the answers to this world's problem, okay? So let us strive to help these people, and with that, I'll turn it over to future priest, another son of Yishmael Abel, future priest Deacon Yaakov. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Shalom, everyone. You may be seated. May the peace of Yahweh be with each and every one of you. Today I'll be speaking a little bit about the work that has been taking place, the missionary work. Now, I'd like to start off by reading a little bit from the workplace manual, page I. And right here, it says, wherever these people are working together, the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program, Moral Excellence in the Workplace, can help improve the interactions by raising the standard of proper and acceptable conduct. By including this program as part of the training in your place of employment, you will be taking measurable steps towards making your work environment a more respectful, productive, stress-free, and peaceful place for all. So we need to implement the peaceful solution in our lives. We have the answers right here, the peaceful solution. Now, we went to Austin, and as you saw in the video there, people are standing up for the peaceful solution. Every person we talked to, they were open, and some of them did what we asked them to do. Now, we left on we met the senators on 3/9/2014. So I looked up 9:14 in the Strong's Exhaustive Concordance, and it means to divide, separate, divide, difference, asunder, served, separation, and select. Now, if you remember where that's talked about, that word divide or separate, if you turn to Zechariah, Zechariah 5:9, it says, Then I lifted up my eyes and looked, and behold, 2 women, that's the last 2 heirs of the house of Yahweh, sent with commandment. The Spirit of Yahweh came to overspread them, and they were covered with the covering of the saints, and they extolled, magnified, and extolled the ephah, the standard of perfection, sent by Yahweh's laws, separating the way of the world from the way of Yahweh. So you see that we're separating what the world is doing from what we're doing. We're keeping Yahweh's laws, and they are not. So, we can push forth this program. If you have a school, turn it over to the priest and get the peaceful solution in your own life so we can teach others by our examples. And that's all the time I have. If you all please stand. I'll turn it over to another son of Yishmael Abel Hawkins, the great Deacon Shlomo Hawkins. Shabbat shalom, everyone. You may be seated. May the peace of Yahweh be with each and every one of you. Today I'm going to be comparing the new prophetic word with what we taught at the schools, especially in Little Rock, Arkansas. We taught a class, and the name of the class, if you didn't catch it in the video, it was Positive Character for a Healthy Mind, Body, and Attitude. Positive character for a healthy mind, body, and attitude. If you have your prophetic words, on page 10, the last paragraph says, The way of Cain means religious acts followed by Cain, Balaam, and Korah, which were acts of rebellion against the righteous laws that would produce mankind healthy minds. A healthy mind produces healthy reasoning,
void of confusion, and joyous attitudes, relationships, and activities. The righteous laws the whole world is rejecting at this time would bring peace between nations. And those laws are the only way to peace. Breaking them, as did Cain, Balaam, and Korah, is the sure way to continual war. So you can see there, the same thing that we were teaching in the school came out in the new prophetic word, talking about healthy minds, bodies, and attitude if we practice Yahweh's laws. Another thing we taught, it says, life can be stressful, right here. Life can be stressful, handled with care. And this point right here says, drink water. Stress dehydrates the body. And eat healthy immune-boosting food. That's in the self-control unit. Eat healthy immune-boosting food to handle stress. Well, if you look in the New Prophetic Word here, on page 11, it says they are kept healthy by clean foods, and clean foods are healthy foods. These taste buds or microbes can be damaged by eating foods shown in Yahweh's righteous laws to be unclean. When damaged, the microbes start losing joy in nourishing the body. The eating and rejoicing in meals become less enjoyable, therefore lessening the joy, rejoicing, friendship, and feasting that are assured by law, for those who practice righteousness together. These keep the set appointment with Yahweh, shown in Deuteronomy 12. So you can see there that the microbes, if we eat clean, healthy food, then they'll nourish our body. But if we eat unclean and unhealthy foods, foods that we get out in the world, or that have pork or swine's flesh, if they have those in them, then they'll start damaging the body. And that's what we taught in the school. Also on page 13 of the New Prophetic Word, it says, notice I said healthy foods because ideal conditions must be present for the body to produce serotonin. Of course, today's food supply is very lacking in the necessary elements needed to sustain the body, allowing it to produce a healthy mind and organs. Therefore, we have a world full of sick, confused minds. What we are facing in this generation are deep-rooted problems that are being passed from parents to children as far back as 4 generations. The sooner we get all people on a clean diet, the sooner the confusion will start to subside. And that's why we have to teach people the right way, the right foods to eat, so that they could stop having confused minds, and that will pass on to their 3rd and 4th generation. I urge all world leaders to act quickly while there is yet time to stop the crisis before a confused mind initiates a nuclear first strike. So you can see there, he's trying to stop the wars. He's trying to stop the killings by getting these people on a healthy diet. Now we need to start teaching. We need to become teachers and put an end to this. We have the tools we need, and we need to start teaching. If you turn to Jeremiah, it's on page 573. Jeremiah 1. Verse 17, it says, as for you, get yourself ready, stand up and speak to them all that I command you. Do not break down because of them, or I will break you down in front of them. So we have the tools we need, and we need to start teaching these people the right and proper way. And with that, if everyone will please stand. I'd like to turn it over to the great son of Yishalabel, Deacon Yishalabel. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. You may be seated. Or Shalom, you may be seated. May the peace of Yahweh be with each and every one of you. Now, we went to San Antonio, and as you saw in the video, we presented the judges with the peaceful solution, and we have actually taken the peaceful solution to some of the highest judges here in Texas, as you saw with the Texas Supreme Court. And we went to Austin, which is the capital of Texas, and we talked to representatives and senators, and they were very open. They listened, and like when we taught at Central High in Arkansas, we had a full auditorium, and they were quiet, they interacted, and we taught about positive character for a healthy mind, body, and attitude. And one thing we taught them was about healthy thoughts, to set your mind in advance to replace negative thoughts with positive ones. In the character unit of the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program, in Chapter 5, entitled The Ripple Effect, Character, Society, and the World, on page 120 in the second paragraph, it says, "Imagine if all nations who are in conflict would begin to incorporate these positive moral character traits when interacting with each other. The ripple effect from this would be awesome. The fighting and wars would end. People would be able to live in peace without the threat of violence to rob them of their property, lives, or the lives of their children." Skipping down a little, it says, "Do not underestimate the importance of a positive moral character in the life of an individual, society, and the world. A positive character is to be valued and maintained by all people if we want our world to be a safe and secure place for everyone." And then back on page 117, the third paragraph there, it says, "If one person could learn the value of having a positive character and treating others with compassion and respect, it gives hope that others can as well. If one person can do it, why can't others?" So you can start that positive ripple effect to get enrolled in these classes that are being offered here at the House of Yahweh so that you can learn what to teach and then teach what you have learned. And as you heard the teacher say in the film, we now have this program, or we now use this program in our school. Isn't that awesome? And with that, praise Yahweh. And with that, I'll turn it over to one of the sons of Yishol Abel, the great Deacon Tawakia.
Praise Yahweh, you may be seated. May the peace of Yahweh be with each and every one of you. So today I'm going to be encouraging you to become a teacher of righteousness. Several years ago, our great overseer, Pastor Yishol Hawkins, he was encouraging us to do this. And don't think just because he doesn't mention it as much, don't think that we should slack off of becoming a teacher of righteousness. This is something that we need. We need teachers. We need teachers to teach the people that are coming. Okay, if one of the pastors said, I'm going to be reading in the 12th book of Israel, part 1, page 156, and this is chapter 17. And let's look at verse 90. It says, a lot of people are reading and believing their own scriptures, and they're contacting the house of Yahweh and wondering, why have I never seen this before in my holy scriptures? Well, because they've been wicked all their lives, and now they're being called out for a special purpose, after Yahweh has proved his point. Then he's offering salvation now in these last days through his house. So these people, they're believing, they're reading and believing these things, and they're going to be coming to Yahweh's house. But we need teachers. The only way that you can fulfill this position is to train. Practice, practice, practice. And we have several opportunities to do this with the workshop, with the classes in the morning, the speech classes that go on. So get involved in these classes so that you can be a part of the teachers of righteousness that we're striving for to become so dearly. Now, in Deuteronomy 1, verse 15, on page 146, if you can turn there, Deuteronomy 1, verse 15, it says, So I took the leading men of your tribes, wise and knowledgeable men, and made them heads over you, captains of thousands, captains of hundreds, captains of 50s, and captains of 10s, as tribal officials. So captains over these people, having authority, being teachers of righteousness. Okay, this is our job. Pastor said, whenever he was giving the series of sermons about the teachers of righteousness, he said that we need teachers. We need each and every one of you to be teachers forever. This is a lifelong position, a lifelong job. You don't ever have to worry about losing your job. You have job security here at the House of Yahweh. Now, there was actually a whole training series that was put out, and you can go pick these up at the men's and women's South offices. We have the teachers training young teachers of righteousness, teaching plans to practice teaching, and then we have the speaking skills. And these are they have lesson plans in them that you can go through and practice teaching, and then you have the activities and so on and so forth. But in this one right here, where it talks about the young teachers of righteousness, it gives us 7 things that a teacher of righteousness should be. So I'm going to read them. So write these down. The first one, the teacher of righteousness should be zealous and joyful to work. A zealous and joyful teacher enjoys his or her work and makes everyone feel the same. The second one, patient, to remain calm in all situations. I'm sure we all have things that we need to work on, but we need to look at these things and strive to become like Yahweh, perfect teachers of righteousness, and use these things whenever you're teaching. The third one is kind. A kind teacher thinks of others and helps them in a kosher way. The fourth one, knows what to teach, because that's very important. If we don't know what we're teaching, then we can't teach. The teacher should know what he or she will be teaching about. The fifth one, a great listener. Okay, because everybody, they're always like, well, I'm the teacher, I'm the one that does all the talking. Well, no, you got to let your students talk as well. So a great listener takes the time to listen carefully. And not only do they listen carefully, but they also add that in. They add that into their lesson. The sixth one, creative, bright ideas. This makes your lesson very exciting. If you're not creative, then your class will be falling asleep. Then the last one, which is strict, not ever growing tired of correcting sin. If we see sin, we have to nip it in the bud. That's what keeps your classes exciting and free from sin and foolishness, because a teacher of righteousness does not allow any sin into their class. So use these 7 tips whenever you're teaching, and remember, get involved in these classes. Get involved so that you can go out and teach the people that are coming, that are going to be coming very soon now. So with that, if you all please stand, I have the great honor and privilege to turn it over to one of the sons of Yisrael, Zebulun Hawkins.
Shalom, everyone. You may be seated. May the peace of Yahweh be with each and every one of you. Today, I just want to talk a little bit about what the missionary work has been doing over the past couple months. Throughout the years of being in the missionary, we've been to many different places. We've been to Laredo, Texas, Washington, D.C., Little Rock, Arkansas, and that's just to name a few of them. Every feast you see the videos about where we're going and we're teaching, and one of the things that always brings joy to us on the missionary is going back to places where we've been before and we've taught classes and seeing people that come up to us and say, hey, I remember you. You're the one that taught that Peaceful Solution class, and due to that class, I was able to change my life around and start building a positive character. So that's always great to be able to hear for the people to say that to us. In Laredo, Texas, we're always down in Laredo, Texas. The missionary, we call that our home away from home, because we're always down there and we're always being able to teach different schools. I believe we've been into almost every school in Laredo, Texas. So we're getting this message out. Now, the missionary work, it's growing bigger every day. Every day you have people that are hearing about this program, they're getting with this program, and you can see the changes in the videos that's being shown. You can see where people are starting to notice that this is the way that they need to go. This is the key. And they're starting to recognize this. And before you know it, each and every one of us inside this room, inside the house of Yahweh, we're all going to be teachers. We are teachers. We all teach by our actions. We're all being trained to be leaders. And before we know it, we're all going to be out going on to all these places all over the world, different countries, different planets. And we're going to be teaching this program about this Peace Solution program to the world. And the one thing we always have to remember is the peaceful solution goes hand in hand with the laws of Yahweh, because the peaceful solution is what the house of Yahweh teaches, and it is the laws of Yahweh. So be keeping that in mind, but we need to make sure we're ready, that we're preparing ourselves. If you remember in 2 Timothy or Timaiah 2:15, found on page 938, it says, "Study to show yourself approved to Yahweh, a workman who does not need to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth, the law, and the prophets." So you see right there, study to show yourself approved, so you can teach that word of truth. And the peaceful solution, the laws of Yahweh, is that word of truth. And right now, in these last days, we're being trained to teach it. We got to study to show ourselves approved to Yahweh, that we will be able to teach this when the time comes. And no matter what anyone says to you, whether they make you feel like you're not able to do it or you're not worth anything, just remember, like Pastor says, it's not the critic that counts. It's the effort that you put forth to prove to Yahweh that you are going to do this job no matter what anyone says or does to you. So be keeping that in mind, and that's all the time I have for you. And if you all please stand, I'd like to turn it over to one of the sons of Abel, Deacon Yisrael David Hawkins.
Shalom, everyone. Please be seated. As this world led by Satan is getting worse and worse and worse, the world leaders and the people in authority are starting to see that their way is not working. And we've been talking to many leaders with many positive results, many school leaders, many political leaders, and all of them realize that there's a problem. And they're looking for solutions. But the amazing thing about the peaceful solution, of course, we all know it's Yahweh's laws, and they work. They have to work because Yahweh said they're going to work. And they're the only way to peace for mankind, so it can't help but work. And if you remember, pastors brought out that there's many people who are secretly worshiping Yahweh in the governmental systems and all throughout the world today. Yahweh is calling people in the governments. Now, I have an article from the Dallas Morning News that I'd like to read y'all. And it was written by a well-recognized, a well-renowned Texas senator and lawmaker. And he says, character education must be the core of Texas schools. He says, Albert Einstein once said, most people say that it is the intellect which makes a great scientist. They are wrong. It is character. He said, can character be taught? Indeed it can, and it must be taught in both homes and schools if we want all students, especially those facing challenges, fragmented family structures, or as the Peaceful Solution says, the dysfunctional family, and poverty to flourish. Teachers can most effectively produce classrooms of successful learners when parents lay foundations that encourage children to learn and to embrace the challenges and opportunities in our schools. So it has to be backed up with character education at home, he's saying. There's many subjects such as English, math, science. He says character should not be viewed as one more subject to teach in an already packed school day. He says it's not a competing slice of the academic pie. Rather, it is the plate upon which the entire pie must rest. Praise Yahweh. He says character must become a common thread that is actively, intentionally, and boldly woven into all subjects like the parallel of a double helix. Character in schools must be foundational, infusing the traits mentioned above. He says from kindergarten through 12th grade, building character traits must become a part of the lesson plans, worksheets, and homework assignments every school day. It sounds like he's one of our Peaceful Solution representatives almost. By intentionally incorporating character in our instruction, we can efficiently and effectively prepare students for learning, and more importantly, for life. It does not cost a great deal of money, but it does require effort. And, that's one thing that seems to hold back a lot of school boards from implementing character. They say, well, it's going to cost this much, and it's going to cost so much, and we don't have this much money in our budget. But really, if you think about it, character, it might cost a little bit, but it saves you money in the long run, because then you don't have to spend money for extra security guards, for metal detectors, for more teachers, because all your teachers are quitting. So it works in the long run. It doesn't cost a great deal of money, but it requires effort. And effort, especially from parents, remember the parents have to teach their children, is the most precious gift we can give our children. Lastly, he says, the rewards of teaching character will benefit students, families, schools, and the state of Texas in immeasurable ways. The cost of not investing in the effort will inevitably be seen in schools that continue to be low performing. So notice he says if you don't implement character, your school is low performing. Praise Yahweh. Now, Yahweh is doing a great work which will spread and eventually will pull 2 billion people out. If you remember, Pastor said the prophecies show that the presidents, the quartet, is going to realize that their way of following Satan is not bringing them peace. And Yahweh's way is the only way that's going to bring them peace. Praise Yahweh. It's the only way that will bring a truly healthy mind, body, and attitude, which was the subject of the schools that we went to teach here recently, and was also the subject of this latest Prophetic Word magazine. So it's the only way that's going to bring this truly healthy mind, body, and attitude, resulting in a truly healthy mind, body, and attitude in the world. Resulting in a healthy world is what I'm trying to say. So, if you'll all please stand. I'd like to turn it over to the next speaker, a great son of Yisrael, Deacon Samuel Vang Hawkins.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. May be seated. Shalom. Praise Yahweh. It feels like the Sabbath, though. Praise Yahweh. What I want to talk about today is about this royal family. This royal family in this great house of Yahweh, because our job is to preach and publish this message throughout this world. So how do we become part of this great family of Yahweh? If you can write this down, the word family from dictionary.com, it gives a specific definition. It says a social unit. A social unit, which, it ties back into the word unity, working together as one. And that's our job. Now, this family that we're talking about, this royal family, is not talking about this family that has to do with bloodline or what color skin or where you're from. It has nothing to do with that. Yeshua explained it very well who your family is. If you turn to Matthew chapter 12, verse 50, on page 739, and if you remember, when Yeshua was teaching there, and they said to Yeshua, behold, your mother, your brother, your sister. And Yeshua explains to them who his brother, his mother, and his sister was. In verse 50, on Matthew chapter 12, Yeshua said, for whoever will do the will of my Father who is in heaven, the same is my brother and sister and mother. And we have to remember that. But this will of Yahweh, Yahweh's will, well, what is it? What is this will of Yahweh? I tied it back into the prophetic word, and you can write this down for your notes. The prophetic word, specifically the 3/4/2011, page 1, and this was a specific prophetic word talking about coming to the feast. But Pastor wrote here, he said, Yahweh created mankind for a purpose of making them, notice here, into totally righteous teachers. Brothers and sisters, that's our purpose, to be righteous teachers. And Pastor said of total righteousness, no evil, no sin at all, like himself, like Yahweh himself, so they could become his family, the house of Yahweh, and be used as such throughout all eternity. Because it's not going to stop here, brothers and sisters, not here in the world, but we're going to go throughout the whole universe and spread this message. So this purpose, this will of Yahweh, is to become teachers of righteousness. That's why what you see during the feast, during the weekly Sabbaths, is all geared upon becoming teachers. Just not any teachers, but teachers of the law, righteous teachers, who will encourage and teach others to follow the rules. Now, remember that the family means unit, we're working together, and we have to remember that, we have to be builders. We have to be builders of this family, in this house of Yahweh. We can't tear each other down, brothers and sisters. We should build each other up. Encourage each and every person in the house of Yahweh to be a teacher of righteousness. For my last scripture here, I want everyone to turn to Romans 14, 13, and 19, found on page 884, because we should never fall in this trap here, this trap of tearing each other down. But Romans chapter 14, verse 13, it says, "Therefore let us stop passing judgment on one another. Instead of doing that, do this. Set your mind not to put any stumbling block or an occasion of falling in our brother's way. Therefore let us pursue the things of peace and the things which build up the house of Yahweh for one another." That's what should always be in our mind, to always build up each other, to always build up the house of Yahweh. Our mind should never be on foolishness, brothers and sisters. So brothers and sisters, let us strive to build each other up, build up this house, and become teachers of righteousness. Praise Yahweh. So if you all please stand, I have a great privilege and honor to present to you one of the sons of Israel, the great Deacon Tovia.
Shalom, you may be seated. It's amazing how Yahweh works, because none of us really talk to each other about what we're speaking about, but I'm sitting here listening to the great deacon, and I'm saying, as Khan said a little bit ago, he's taking my sermon. But there's plenty of knowledge that Yahweh has allowed us to have in these last days, and I'm going to continue where Deacon Samuel left off. Building up this great house of Yahweh. You think of this house as a family of, brothers and sisters. And, in order for a family to function well, you have to have support between, siblings. Hey, are you okay? You don't look great today. Have each other's back, supporting one another. And that's what we have to continually do here in the great house of Yahweh. We have to be there for one another. We're a family, we're a body, and we're all working towards this one goal. Okay, and that goal is to get this message of peace out through the peaceful solution, through this missionary that Yahweh has put together through his last day's witness. All of you, all of us, together, doing this, a body, a family. But I'd like to read a scripture in Philippians 2, 3 through 4. It's found on page 922. Philippians 2, 3, and 4. And it says, "Let nothing be done in the way of strife or empty glory, but in lowliness of mind, let each esteem others better than themselves. Let every one of you look, let every one of you look, let me start over here. Let every one of you look out not for your own interests, but for the interest of others." Looking out for one another, paying attention to one another. Yeshua Messiah, he's perfect, right? He's perfect, right? Has he received all the things that were promised to him yet? No. Why? He's waiting on us. Okay, remember that. He's waiting on us. He suffered a tremendous suffering. And he's went through all these things, but he's waiting on us. And we can do it. Okay, we are the house of Yahweh. Okay? Being guided by the last day's witness, one of the most perfect man on the face of the earth, guiding us and leading us. Okay? Remember this, okay? Hebrews 10, 24 and 25. You can turn over there, 949. Hebrews 10, 24 through 25. It says, "Let us consider one another, how we may urge one another on towards love and righteous works." Let's encourage one another. Let's uplift one another. Don't be talking about, well, did you hear what so-and-so did? Or did you hear about this and that and the other? Say, did you hear that great sermon that such and such gave? Or did you hear that great class? Did you hear this? Did you hear that? Did you see so-and-so over there serving the other day? That was pretty awesome, right? Not forsaking the gathering of ourselves together, as the manner of some is, but exhorting one another, insomuch that you will see the day approaching. Okay? Remember this, we are not ladders. You know, this person isn't a ladder to get to this position, or this person isn't, okay? We have to work together to achieve this. Not one person can achieve it alone, not 10. The whole body, us as a family, being brothers and sisters, having each other's backs, and defending our brothers and sisters in righteousness, okay? You know, you think about a family, and you think about how, you know, you'll see two brothers, and one of the brothers will do something wrong, and the other brother, you know, he won't let anyone talk about him. You know, he'll say, well, I haven't got all the facts yet. I need to, you know, even the little ones, they'll say they won't believe it almost at first until they get the facts and they say, okay, maybe this did occur, but you know, we shouldn't be talking about it. Okay? And that's what we have to keep in mind. Now, Hebrews 11:25, turn over one page. Hebrews 11:25. It says, choosing rather to suffer an affliction with the people of Yahweh than enjoying the pleasures of sin for a season. Okay? And choose to endure these pleasures here in the great house of Yahweh. Yes, we are tested. We go through tests and trials. But remember, you're on one of the greatest places on the face of the earth, teaching the only way to be righteous. Okay? Remember, the peaceful solution is coming to a town near you. Okay? So get involved. Like the previous speaker said, get with the Kahans, get with your counselors. What can I do in my town to help further this work of Yahweh? We need every one of you, every one of us working together to bring this about. Okay, there's a small group, but with a small group we can do much. We can take those steps and build this work for, you know, the survival of mankind. Okay, because if the world keeps going the way it's going, there won't be mankind in 20 years. Okay? You know, some of the students at a previous school, we were talking about an article that was put out about the way, how there was a man that lived to be 150 years old. And they said, oh, we don't want to live to be 150. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, well, with this current path you're on, you won't live to be 40. I mean, you know, with the diseases and the sickness and all these things. Okay, brothers and sisters? Remember, the body, us as a group, growing together, teaching this peace solution so others can learn and enjoy the same peace that you are enjoying here at the great feast of Yahweh. So with this, I'm going to turn it over to another son of Yisrael Hawkins, Deacon Yayakim.
Shalom. You may be seated. It's absolutely a great joy to be in the house of Yahweh. You know, coming from so many thousands of miles from Kenya, that is in East Africa, I'm so excited to be here. You know, I kind of remember a great question you asked yesterday. You asked, do you have your racing shoes on? That question is still very valid today for you to ask yourself, but I have another question for you today. You know, we are being taught by the great overseer of the house of Yahweh that the greatest way to rejoice is to serve. Praise Yahweh. Now, this is the question I have for you to ask yourself. If you are to be arrested today for being a blessing to others, would they find enough evidence to convict you? It's a question for you to ask yourself. And I do believe if the answer is no to that question, there is a long way for you to go. So I want to share with you some of the things that the Okis in Kenya are doing. Because we have so many Okis back in Kenya, and they are being involved a lot in this work that our great overseer has been emphasizing that all of us do. When I look at Matthew 5 and verse 19, I do remember what the great high priest of the house of Yahweh, Yeshua Messiah, said to some of the men he found. He told them to follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. You know, the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program is here to teach us how to fish. And if you look at the side note on that, it tells us that we are to draw them out of the sea of this world in which they are drowned. You know, we are seeing that everything is on a downward spiral, especially moral integrity. And we are the only ones having these solutions because we are being taught by the great teacher in the world. So back in Kenya, the work of the Peace Solution is really growing big, and I want to attest to you that when I look at this work myself, I already see that it is Yahweh guiding it. You know, I just want to let them pray the creep, and then I'll just explain to what is going on. Please pray the disc. In this disc, you're going to see just a glimpse of what is going on. We have so many groups working in Kenya to promote the program. Right now, I work with around 30 groups, but I just wanted to show you what just one group is doing. So in this video, you're just going to see what one of the groups is doing in the Peace Solution work back in Kenya. And maybe this might motivate you to get involved because we are being called to do the fishing. Please pray the disc. Keep in mind, this is just one of the groups we have in Kenya promoting peace. You can see what they are doing in the country. So this is the group that does much of the printing or the reprinting of the books, the Peace Solution books. And lots of them that we distribute to various parts of the country. Then just a glimpse of some of the trainings going on. Thousands that are being taught. So many classes going on throughout the country. Those are some of the instructors of the Peaceful Solution in Kenya. So many schools have been reached in the country. This is just one group doing this work. And I said we have like 30 groups in the country, in various parts of the country. You can see we've involved so many other people, just even the police and the students in universities. And we get so many great feedback from all these people. Actually, even the politicians in our country, some of them want this program to be introduced in the floor of the parliament of the country so that it can be taught. Actually, you heard about the sad occurrence that occurred in one of our towns where 140 people were killed. In that town already, the schools in that area, we have someone in this congregation today who has been taking the program to schools in that area. That's a young one giving a speech in one of our national peace conferences. That boy is just 4 years old, and I remember we were just having the national conference. We usually now have started organizing national conferences on peace. That young man there is just 4 years. When he just saw me coming to the conference, the first thing he told me is, I have a speech. So he wanted me to make sure that he doesn't miss out. And of course, he didn't disappoint. He really gave a great speech. And that is just a glimpse of what is going on. So every time we have a meeting, various groups share such reports. And this is always very encouraging on what is going on. But what we can realize all the time is that Yahweh is always keeping on blessing everyone who is getting involved into this work. And as the pastor and overseer of this great house has been teaching us, you have to get your works onto this job if you want to qualify into that kingdom. Because as we have been told about the race, just continuing what the previous speakers have spoken about, you know, we are all been reminded that this is a race that is not like the races we have in the world where people compete. Are we competing? We are just learning how to serve one another. And the only important thing for each and every one of us is to reach the finish line. So it doesn't matter whether you reach that finish line being the last, just keep on striving and Yahweh will bless your efforts. So it's kind of a motivation for all of us to get involved. In one of that national conferences that we just had, we had several people, maybe some of them not House of Yahweh members, and I just wanted to share what they said after the conference. One of them said that he has found one of the most unique NGOs in the country, which was the Peaceful Heart and Mind Changing Organization. He says in all the NGOs he has visited in the country, he has not witnessed such a great and awesome organized NGO. But one thing kept him wondering, because in that national conference, we have people coming from various parts of the country, from various tribes, and he asked one question. Actually, he was asking me as the national director, how do you keep these people motivated? Because he saw a lot of motivation in everyone. He saw great speeches, young ones teaching, and another one actually commented, he was actually commending the parents of the children because he had so many great speeches from the young ones, and he just said, what has really made me so joyous for visiting this conference is the great teachings I had from these children, who definitely we can see these are the sons and daughters of Israel Hawkins, and they are really doing a great job everywhere. So we praise Yahweh for that. But it always keeps reminding me of all the laws of Yahweh. You know, all of them are really great, but one of the laws of Yahweh that really excites me is teaching our children. Yeah, that's one of the greatest laws that I have found, because I usually see you can't teach if you're not practicing Yahweh's laws, 613. So it always implies for you to teach, you have to practice all of them. So actually, practicing all of them is the first step of being the perfect teacher. So as we continue seeing this and seeing how the work is growing back in Kenya, we are actually, one joke that we usually have is like, for those who have seen the map of Africa, actually Kenya is on the east. We say it's on the left. If you just take the map, it's just like it's on the left side, just as the heart is on the left side of the human body. And so we keep motivating brethren that we have to pump the peaceful solution, just as the heart pumps the blood to all the parts of the continent. That's why we are hoping soon to have an African Peace Conference, which will be hosted by our country. So we keep praying for the work back in Kenya. We are actually hoping very soon we might have a peace center where this program is going to be taught. And we are almost there to get a peace center because we are having a lot of hope that is going on, and so many people wanting to get involved to support this great work. I thank you for your time, and at this time, if you all please stand, I want to welcome the other great son of Abel, Deacon David. Praise Yahweh.
Shalom again. Please be seated. I'll tell you, I could have listened to the great deacon quite a bit more on talking about Kenya, and I look forward to seeing more video on that, which may be available for us. So I wanted to share something with you concerning the healthy mind and body. You know, like I said before, I thought it was very interesting the way Yahweh put this together. Here's this school that we didn't tell them what to name their wellness clinic week, you know, gaining a healthy mind, body, and attitude. We didn't call and tell them that. They didn't call and tell us to put in the prophetic word about a healthy mind, body, and attitude, you know. And then the youth day, the peaceful solution, the theme for that is morals and morality, the benefits of keeping the laws, you know, keeping the rules. Well, what are the benefits of keeping the rules? A healthy mind, body, and rejoicing attitude, right? So Yahweh put all this together and brought it together in such an awesome way. It's just unbelievable. And the way the peaceful solution is spreading. It's like a plant. You know, it makes me think of it, harvest time. It makes me think of the plant, the main plant, and how the roots can go out in some plants, and then they establish other plants, and it just keeps growing. And I thought about that. I looked at a map, and I thought, well, there's Abilene, Texas, and it seems to be spreading this way and that way, and it's taking root, and people are growing, and so there's harvest coming from that, okay? And I thought that was really awesome. One of the, I don't know if we saw the picture don't know if we got to see the picture or not, and I don't know if you could read that. It's kind of small. But it says, Dwayne Bohack. Now, he's a representative in Houston, and we met with him when we went to the Capitol. This man had just written an article that was in the Dallas News. The title was, Character Education Must Be Core of Texas Schools. We met with him, and he was overjoyed to meet the whole team. I mean, he took us in his office, he took pictures, and he's posting them and everything. And this guy is known as the character education representative. That's what they said. When we went there, they said, you need to go see this guy. That's what he's all about. So we look forward to some great things from him, too. But in this prophetic word program, prophetic word magazine, okay, in here is a vast wealth of knowledge that I've just been reading over and over again. And I want to share some of it with you, and then I'm going to turn it over to one of the great priests that's got some awesome information for you. And I feel like, I'll tell you, the missionary. What the missionary does is the missionary goes out, and then they bring back the information for the people that didn't go out. It's like we're your eyes so that you can see the work that you're doing. And when the great deacon came up, I thought it was so great that he had that clip available for us so he could be our eyes and we could see what was going on over in Kenya and take part in it, and realize how the work is growing and how wonderful it is. But the peaceful solution teaches against holding on to resentment and anger. And on page 8 in this prophetic word program, it says, resentment is like drinking poison. We all know that. If you go on down, it says resentment and anger are not only toxic, but often intoxicating. Now, I know some have read this, but I'm bringing this for those of you who have not to encourage you to please go get this magazine and read this. This all falls right in line with the peaceful solution and what's taught, but often intoxicating. And it actually is like a drug, but like many drugs, the feeling is artificial and fleeting. Forgiveness is a choice you have to make. If you wait for the feeling to fill our hearts, inspiring us to forgive, we might wait our whole life for that. So you have to make the conscious choice to forgive and not hold on to that resentment. You're going to find that you don't immediately, feel necessarily better, that feeling, but over a period of time, it will come. Obedience first, then the understanding comes. And remember this, that your mind is like a magnifying glass. Whatever you focus on will expand. Do you want to focus on that resentment? Because if you do, it's just going to keep on growing and growing and growing. That's why Yahweh says, get it out of you. Get it out of you by sunset, if you have a problem with somebody. Do you want to focus on resentment or forgiveness? Which one do you believe will ultimately make you feel and live better? That's what Cain did. Cain focused on that resentment and on that anger. It just built and built and built until the time where him and his comrades or his groups, his municipal groups and everything went out and killed Abel. Then on page 10, it talks about a healthy mind produces healthy reasoning, void of confusion. It produces joyous attitudes, relationships, and activities. And the only way to have a healthy mind and a healthy body is to do what we're taught, is to take the supplements, to eat the right things, to work on ourselves and practice the peaceful solution. Not just know what page something is on out of memory or something, but to practice it in your life, to put it to work and really think about that when that resentment is coming forth. The righteous laws, if the whole world would practice this, it would bring peace to the entire world. Then the microorganisms. You got to remember the microorganisms. Our food, everything is made up of microorganisms, and the microorganisms are the ones that create this healthy food. And I want to share with you something just briefly that a great Kohan taught us recently, is if you could just imagine for a minute, like the cheese making process where, you take the curd and you put it in the cheesecloth and it ages, and I'm sure I'll get some correction on this if I get that part of it wrong, but it ages, and over a period of time, maybe weeks, maybe months, even over a year, I believe, for some of the aged, sharp cheese. It takes that long for the bacteria to work. Because they're in prison. We've learned how to imprison them and force them to do the job. But now, what if the microbes obeyed you, and instead of having a few of the microbes come and do that job, imprisoned until they decide that's what they want to eat and they go ahead and do that job? What if you had trillions of them that you could command like that? Then would you have to wait on that cheese? No, they would come and make that cheese immediately for you. And this, if we can get our mind around this, we can see how Yahweh created the earth in 7 days. We can actually see how everything was done from creating the earth to mankind in 7 days. If we can wrap our mind around that, and we'll be seeing this taking place in front of our very eyes very soon, and we'll all be a part of it, Yahweh willing. And keep one thing in mind, to get involved in this peaceful solution. I know people have said that, oh, I can't do this and I can't do that. I can't do what this person does and that person. Their memory's better than mine, all this. But have confidence. In the workplace manual on page 18, have confidence in your own abilities. You have abilities too. Have confidence in those. Ask for help. Don't compete against others. Run the race. Run the righteous race that we're running right now, and that will be overtaking and taking this peaceful solution to the entire world. And with that, I'd like you all to please stand. And it's my great honor and privilege to present to you one of the great sons of Israel Abel, the great Kahan Tobiah.
Praise Yahweh. You may all be seated. So we all come here, and we come here as what we were out in the world. Each one different. Some plumbers, some carpenters. But Yahweh, through Pastor, is changing us into what? Teachers. He's training us to be teachers. And that's what we need to set our goal upon. Because in Deuteronomy 6, it says you must teach them to your children diligently. Teach them. We must take this lesson that He's giving us, this knowledge that He's given us at this time, in these last days, to become teachers. Because His thoughts are higher than ours. You know, we come here with our own thoughts. And He is one with Yahweh. And in these teachings, to go out to the nations is going to be so great in the end times. And you'll see the plan unfolding, and to be able to be patient, to set forth in your mind, to hold fast to what He's teaching. You might not understand it at this time, but it will come. It's building patience and long-suffering within you. So we must teach them diligently. We must teach them the laws, morals, righteous character, all these things that Pastor is bringing out in these books and this knowledge that he's bringing us in these last days. And also we must teach by our example, by how we conduct ourselves among one another, how we treat one another, like the other deacons have talked about, and all their speeches were great, and they brought out a lot of different things. And our righteous example has to come through our actions, our words, our character, or the way we express ourselves, our body language, all those things. If you turn over to page 564 in Isaiah 54, verse 13, it says, all your children will be taught by Yahweh, and a great will be the peace of your children. So it says, so who is Yahweh to us? Israel Hawkins. So all our children will be taught by Israel Hawkins. All of us, not just our children, but us. We are children of Israel Hawkins. Okay, and that's what we got to remember, that this teaching is going on, and it's a great experience to be able to be molded and to look back and then see where you were and see where you're going and where you're headed to, and that's what you got to keep your focus on. This righteous character, this righteous path. Okay, in Isaiah, if y'all look over to this chapter 55, it says in verse 1, it's on page 565, everyone who thirsts, come to the water. You who have no money, come buy and eat. Yes, come buy wine and milk without money and without price. So what water? He says, everyone who is thirsty. So we were all thirsty when we first came here. And what water are we seeking now? Are we seeking the same water that we were when we first got baptized? We have to follow those teachings and remember the water and come to this water, come to this teaching and get this righteous teaching. It says in verse 2, why would you spend money on what is not bread? Why would you labor for that which does not satisfy? Listen diligently to me and eat what is righteousness. So he's telling us, Pastor's been up here and he's talked about all those push-button gadgets, the worldly things. To get those out of your mind, to get them out of your life, to get focused on this righteousness. Okay? And become teachers. And let your soul delight itself in its abundance. It says, incline your ear and come to me. Hear and you will live. It says, hear and you will live. So we need to hear what he's talking about, what he's teaching us in these last days. Every single word. And then I will establish an everlasting covenant with you. It says, behold, I have given him as a witness to the people, a leader, commander to the people. He's given us pastor to teach us. Okay? It says, behold, you will call a nation you do not know, and nations who do not know you will run to you because of Yahweh your Father, the Holy One of Israel. For he has glorified you. And you can see this in the courts, the films earlier, the schools, the governments, the other countries that are calling and getting this message through the peaceful solution. Okay? In verse 8, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither your ways my ways, says Yahweh's. And when we first got here, we had our own thoughts. We had worldly thoughts. They weren't of Yahweh's. They weren't His ways. But we've changed over that, and hopefully we haven't lost that. And we hold fast to those thoughts when we first got here. And be diligent in this work and do everything that we're instructed to do. And do it to the best of our ability. It says in verse 9, for as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than of yours. It says, for as the rain came down like the snow from the sky, and does not return there until he waters the earth to make it bring forth and bud. And that's what he's doing with this message that he's bringing forth to us. He's giving us this water, these books that he's printing, this newsletter, the prophetic word, the peaceful solution character education. All this is water for us that we need to hold on to, we need to study. So we need to, if you turn over to 9:22 from Philippians 22. It says, complete my joy by being like mine, having the same love, being in unity in one accord of mind. And that's what we need to remember, that we're all in unity. We need to work together like the deacons before said, that it is to be uplifting to one another. Okay? So study the laws of Yahweh, set the righteous example. Okay? So if you all please stand at this time, I'd like to introduce the great son of Israel, the great Kahan, Zephaniah Heimerman Hawkins.
Shabbat Shalom, royal family of Yahweh. You may be seated. What a great honor it is to be in the house of Yahweh in these last days. Leading up to this feast and all the things that we've been learning with the harvest time and the planting and the growing and the reaping and the first fruits and being reminded of how we are tethered to the choicest branch in these last days, I couldn't help but be thinking about the growth and the plants and how Yahweh is so awesome in all these things that He's put together, and everything that He does was perfect. And this is what it said in Genesis, that how Yahweh created things, it was absolutely perfect. And in thinking of the first fruits and how our character needs to be that of excellence, as we saw the other night when Pastor did such a great job in pointing out the character of our great high priest. And even though he was facing what would be the worst part there, time of his life, the hour had come, he still had his mind on the work of Yahweh and showing that care and concern towards others. And I thought that, Yeshua must be greatly honored by the words of this last day's witness as he points that out to his people. So looking at the first fruits, I was thinking that, Yahweh must tell us or have a special message for us there. Now, one of the first fruits that ripens is the strawberry. It's actually one of the first fruits that ripens, and there's something very special about this plant. And if you turn over to Hebrews chapter 6, verse 20, Hebrews chapter 6, verse 20, and again, Pastor pointed out the very excellence in this book of Hebrews and how it was written by our high priest. I want to put a couple scriptures in your mind. Hebrews chapter 6, verse 20, where the forerunner, and pay close attention there to that word runner, because we're going to talk about it. You've heard that we're running this race. That's something that it's kind of with the harvest time and a theme that Pastor wants us to understand. There's a race that is being run. So you need to have these runners. Where the forerunner has entered for us, Yeshua, having become high priest forever, according to the order of Melchizedek. And we know that's the order of righteousness, which this work is all based off of righteousness. And let's look at Ephesians chapter 2, verse 20. Turn to Ephesians chapter 2, verse 20. Because we have this foundation. We have this foundation to where this last day's work has sprung forth. It's been reestablished. And this work is built upon this great foundation. And I can assure you that the foundation, there's no cracks, there's no flaws in the work that Yeshua did. And it is with great joy that this last day's work has been built off of that foundation. Ephesians chapter 2, verse 20. And are being built on the foundation of the apostles and prophets, Yeshua Messiah being the chief cornerstone. The very cornerstone. Now, going back to the strawberry plant. The strawberry plant has what you'd refer to as the mother plant. And I want you to think about Yeshua and the work and the foundation that he set forth from the beginning. And in this plant, you have these runners. If I can get my picture here to come up. You have these runners. And if y'all can see that, these are runners that go off from this mother plant. They actually shoot out. They're sent out. If you key in on that. They're sent out. And here you see this mother plant right here, and all of these are runners spreading out. And they go there and they're tethered to that mother plant. That is where they get their energy from, where they get the nutrients as they spread out to where they can start to establish the roots and they let that grow. They're always connected there to that one central plant as they go. And, this shows us how important it is that we are always connected to the work here at Abel. And that's how the work of Yahweh has spread out. As you heard, 28 different countries spreading out, and even more so. Pastors mentioned how many worship in secret. So you can see that very quickly and very easily you could have many spring up and come forth to the house of Yahweh in these last days. So what exactly are these strawberry runners? Well, most of the commonly cultivated, and this is from strawberryplants.org, most of the commonly cultivated varieties of strawberry plants will produce runners as a means of propagating themselves, which is reproducing, spreading the work out. It actually means a plant that is genetically the same as the mother plant. Anyone who grows strawberries is probably familiar with the term and at some point probably experienced at least a twinge of curiosity regarding them. Have you ever asked yourself, just exactly what are strawberry runners? Well, be curious no longer. You're about to find out. So these strawberry runners, I want to give you the word here for a strawberry runner is properly called stolon. Stolon. The word stolon comes from the Latin word stolo, and it means, and this is what it means here, a shoot, branch, or twig springing from the root. And I'd like you to turn to Isaiah 11, verse 1. Turn to Isaiah 11, verse 1, and we know that the branch shows that the branch sprang from the root. Turn to Isaiah chapter 11, verse 1. And there will come forth a rod out of the stem of Yeshe, and a branch will grow out from its roots. And there you see how the last day's work, the last day's runner, if you would, sprang forth from that root, that foundation of Yeshua and the apostles. At this time, I'd like you to play disc 3, please.
We gotta hurry, man. We're running late. Let's go. Come on, run. Hurry, man, hurry. Get these TVs turned on. Well, greetings, everyone. Once again, this is Israel Hawkins, coming to you from the House of Yahweh in Abilene, Texas. This is the Prophetic Word Program.
Praise Yahweh. Well, we do have a great runner who has definitely stemmed from that great plant and is continuing the foundation here and building this great work. Let's close in Yachanan, 1 Yachanan chapter 3. 1 Yachanan chapter 3. For your notes, if you want to write down Yachanan chapter 15, talks a little bit more about it, the vine and the vine dresser, and how we will only produce fruit if we stay tethered to that vine, to the plant. 1 Yachanan chapter 3, verse 2. Beloved, now we are the children of Yahweh, but it has not yet been revealed what we will be. But we know that when he is revealed, we will be like him, for we will see him as he is. May Yahweh bless your understanding. If everyone would please stand.
You may be seated. May the peace of Yahweh be with each and every one of you. I'm going to be speaking to you for a few minutes about updates on the missionary work going on in Nigeria. And over the years, we've gone to so many places, teaching thousands of students and teachers and government officials and so on in the ways of peace. And the peaceful solution, as we notice, is very well received with the ordinary citizens, though we have some trouble with those up there who always complain of funding. But then, if we'll turn quickly to Jacob Jacob 3, if we'll take very quickly, 17 and 18, says, but the wisdom that is from above, that's on page 955. But the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, and easy to be entreated, full of mercy and righteous fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy. And 18 says, and the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace by those who make peace. And this is what we're trying to take out to the world, and the peaceful solution to turn them from their way of self-destruction as it is. This country being the largest jailer in the world, and I was amazed by those numbers. And it would have been a lot cheaper for them if they would take this program right away and implement it, and you have many more people who are free to contribute meaningfully to the benefit of everyone else. And that's what we're trying to do all over the world. And it makes me imagine, missionaries going out, the missionary work, expanding to many countries of the world, South America, Africa, and so on and so forth. I can't imagine by the time we qualify for this authority, this royal priesthood that, this purple priesthood, and then we begin to get sent to maybe far distant galaxies and all across the universe. And, it's such an amazing prospect, that we have ahead of us. But again, it means we all have to double down. We have to buckle down and work very hard to be a part of this great family that Yahweh is putting together, to continue to be able to secure our place and to maintain our place in that great family. So in Nigeria, we've been going around, like I pointed out before, to various government officials and teachers. The training for teachers has continued. In fact, in Lagos State, which has the largest population in the country, about 20 million people in that small state. Yes, and there was a woman there who was very supportive of what we're doing, and she was she was the director in charge of training of teachers in the state. So she always made sure she got us in there to teach, periodically train teachers after teachers after teachers after teachers. But she just retired. And we were like, wow, what are we going to do now? But again, Yahweh brought another woman to the place. And through this woman, we got back in. So the training of the teachers in Lagos State is continuing. And of course, very many teachers have been trained in Lagos, and then the work continues to go on from there, and we've moved from there to other states in Nigeria. I don't know if you'll see this. Now that is in the east. There's one of the teachers teaching a hall full of teachers in the east of Nigeria, and that's another cross section of those teachers. So we're taking this now to the eastern part of the country, to that's Abia State, that is, and then we've gone up north, we've gone all over the country, still training teachers, and we have letters from other state governments, like this letter right here. That's from the government of Oyo State. That's another state. It's actually the capital city of that state is the largest by landmass, about the second largest in Africa. That's Ibadan, that's the city. After Cairo in Egypt, that's the next largest city. So they just gave us approval, I don't know if you can see that, approval to organize character education program for primary and secondary school teachers in Oyo State. And it goes on. And from Oyo State to Abia State, and it keeps on spreading. And we also have a community program that's just coming up. We've got, the whole idea was to get an outdoor movie screen, but we're not going to be showing movies. We're going to be showing House of Yahweh material, because we found that anywhere we played videos coming from the House of Yahweh, that's the Peaceful Solution material, we found that a lot of people were attracted. Young people were drawn to it. They wanted to see what was there. Like the one of those stick figures, like talking about self-control, they bumped into each other and then it went on and on and on. That always draws people. In fact, we were almost mobbed in one of the trainings that we went because there were thousands of people outside. The hall wasn't big enough to take the whole school. When the video started, everybody wanted to get in. So because of that, we thought, well, we might just have a community program where we'll go out to communities, residential neighborhoods in the evenings. Of course, all safety and all that taken care of. Then we'll show these videos outside and the teachers will be ready to teach them. We'll get chairs and everything set up reminds me of the Brush Harbor pastor was speaking about. So that, we've got all the stuff that we need for that. And that's going to begin immediately we get back. We should have started already, but for certain hiccups, but that is ongoing right now. Everything is all set and ready to go. And of course, we have the Nigerian Prison Service. We're still continuing our cooperation with the prison service, and we have right here, that's from the Nigeria Prison Service. You can all see that. That's an approval letter from one of his own, acceptance and approval, yes. So when we've been working with them since then. It's not always easy getting into government establishments in Africa, with the level of corruption and so on. I'm sure it's all over the news. So we had to get around that somehow. But Yahweh opens the door in the end. That's the important thing. None of this would have been possible without the support and the guidance we're getting from Yahweh's house. In fact, we are just out there in the field running errands. And Yahweh's house is doing this work. It's all of you sitting down here is doing that work. It's not us. We are just running the errands for you. I don't know how easy it's going to be for every one of us to jump on a plane. Maybe we'll have to charter a number of planes to get all of us to Africa to get this job done. So some of us have to be there or have to go there, and then some of us have to be here providing backup services. And the schools program is continuing to grow, and we've taught at a number of schools all across the country. I'll show you, even we have some of our people in very remote, okay, maybe that will come in the videos later, but we have some of our people in very remote areas, very remote parts of the country, also doing this with whatever crude equipment and stuff that they have. Sometimes they don't even have a projector. Sometimes they record videos on mobile phones and things like that. But they get the job done. That's the important thing, And this here is one of the teachers with a class of students in one of the places that we've taught, and then and on and on and on. But finally, I'd like to show this. We got. Okay. Oh well, I guess. All right, better. So here is the character unit of the Peaceful Solution. This is the Nigerian edition. And this here, before now we've been printing books, but we've been printing them just as is. But right now this is a fully Nigerianized version of the Peaceful Solution books. Let me show you a couple of... I'm sure we all recognize this page from the Peaceful Solution books, but the pictures there, they look kind of different. Because the hairdo and all that's very African, and then the names too, names of places, nothing has changed, really, because you can't make something that is the best, you can't make it any better, can you? So what we have names, like here's Tarebi, here's Adeze, African names, African place names, and so on and so forth, and some articles also from Africa, but generally speaking, the concept and everything is exactly the same. Because we are learning from the great pastor and overseer of the house of Yahweh, and we are putting out just what we are learning. So this is coming from the house of Yahweh. So this is just a snapshot of what is going on in Nigeria, and we'll look forward to more things occurring, and that's all the time I have. If you'll all please stand. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to one of the great sons of Israel, Abel, the great Kahan, Kananya Hawkins.
Praise Yahweh. You may be seated. Praise Yahweh. You may be seated. May the peace of Yahweh be with each and every one of you. I hope you've been enjoying the messages, the presentations. As the great Kwan said, Deacon says, these are our eyes. These are our ears of the things that are taking place, with these runners going all over the world, and this message of the peaceful solution spreading out to the world. Well, one of these runners are going out and reaching into the prison programs, the prisons, I should say, to reach those men and women who are there who have, they've made some wrong choices, as many of us have, and they're in a system right now that has incarcerated them due to these wrong choices, but the peaceful solution is giving them an answer, showing them how they can turn their lives around. From the ACLU.org, on their website, you can go to their website and read this, there's a section under there entitled The Prison Crisis. And some of you probably have heard these statistics, but I'll read them again. It says the U.S. has only 5% of the world's population. Only 5%. Think about that, just 5% of the world's population, but has 25% of the world's prison population. 25%. That makes the U.S. the largest jailer in the world. 1 in 99 adults are living behind bars in the U.S., and 1 in 31 adults are under some form of correctional control. Prisons, jails, parole, probation, and so forth. They're not offering correction to these prisoners. Correction, as we know in the house of Yahweh, is true love. And what we see from these men as this prison program, the peaceful solution is going out to them, is that they are desiring to change their lives, but they don't know how. They haven't received anything that has given them that change that they were looking for. In fact, we received a couple of letters. We receive letters every day, and every week we're receiving more and more people who desire to be a part of. In case you didn't know, the Peaceful Solution does have a prison correspondence program as well that is going out to those who are in prison. They are not forgotten. We don't look at them as just some statistic. We don't look at them as less valuable than anyone else. They're under this same beastly governmental system that has taught them to be the way that they are. And we're the only organization on the face of the earth that is telling these people that, yes, you do have value. You are important. You are very important to Yahweh, yes. We're not telling them Yahweh, except for a few who are following the house of Yahweh. But we're not just telling them that. We're not just giving them lip service. We're showing them how they can bring this change about. This is a letter that we received from a person in one of the facilities that we visited not too long ago. It was in February we visited it. And he says here, although I did not attend the service in which your organization presented, I have heard a lot about it. I have wrestled with myself as to whether or not I should send a letter for some time. I am at a place in my life where I have made some changes, yet I know there is so much more I can do. This place offers help, but it is not helpful to any real extent. In a nutshell, I am asking for your help. I want to be better. Do better for myself and my family. I know I am capable of much more than I have done with my life thus far. I yearn for a better life and genuinely want to create a better future than other convicts have. I don't wish to be a stereotype and no longer want to be the statistic that I am. Thank you for your time and consideration. Praise Yahweh. And what he was saying there was, we had a presentation of some speakers presenting the peaceful solution and showing how this program is extremely beneficial and how it's been used in other facilities to help people change their lives, turn their lives around. And, some of these people have life sentences. Some of them just have a few years. Some of them are going to be getting out in a few months. But one thing that we did assure them is that they're not probably going to fulfill their whole sentences. It's not going to be very long before these prison bars come tumbling down. Praise Yahweh. Here's another letter from another person here. He gives his name. He says, I am currently incarcerated, and he gives the place, and I am searching for a better way to improve my life. I was present when a few of your representatives taught at our facility, but neglected to jump on board. With much consideration, I have come to the conclusion that I need further assistance with change. And remember, that's what correction is. It's change. I would like you to send lesson 1 of your course, please. I do think it would be beneficial for me and my lack of drive and understanding. Thank you for your time. Praise Yahweh. And these are their own words. Well, change is what Yahweh promises. Change is what Yahweh shows that he will bring to his people. In fact, you can just take for your notes there Acts 3:19, which, as we know, is a very popular scripture. It says, the great apostle Shaul was inspired to write, "Repent, therefore, and be converted, that your sins may be blotted out, and that times of refreshing may come from the presence of Yahweh." In Psalms 19, in verse 7, it tells us how we convert, or what it is that will bring about this conversion or change. The laws of Yahweh are perfect, converting the whole person. The testimony of Yahweh is sure, making the simple ones wise. And remember, Yahweh shows in Genesis 1:26 that this goal is to make mankind in his image and in his likeness. Just right quick here, the word convert from the same source of Merriam-Webster's dictionary is to change. Correction, the definition that was in correction as well was change. Convert also means to change something or someone into a different form so that it can or they can be used in a different way. Write down and turn, if you have your books of Yahweh, to 2 Timothy or 2 Timaiah, chapter 3, and we'll look at verse 16 and 17. All scripture that is given through inspiration of Yahweh is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness, that the man of Yahweh, once they receive this instruction, once they receive this correction, so that the man of Yahweh may become perfect, thoroughly furnished for every righteous work. Well, that's how they'll be used in a different way. They were used by Satan before to bring about chaos, misery, death, and destruction. Well, very soon they're going to be used by Yahweh to bring about peace, joy, abundant living, to stop all wars, sickness, diseases, cancers, and so forth. They're going to be used and they're going to be judged according to their works, but at that time, their works are going to be righteous. So now we have a video that we would like for you to look at here, and this was one of the facilities that we recently visited. And oddly enough, when we went to this facility, we were just expecting just a few men, maybe, 4 or 5 men and to come and to visit with us and so forth. And of course, we went there teaching Yahweh's, the work of Yahweh. It was the work of Yahweh, but we also spoke about the peaceful solution, how it can be, how they can use it and get involved in the correspondence course and so forth. And you're going to see a little bit of an excerpt from that presentation that we did there not too long ago. So at this time, will you play a video 4?
But think about your own situations, and if you could go back to, let's say, 5 years old, and if someone could start teaching you what the laws say, have the benefit of those laws, and show you the end result of making decisions, how many of you would like to have that opportunity to go back and start over again? Life would probably turn out a lot different for most of us.
The laws of Yahweh ensure success. Okay, and that's what Yahweh says, I teach you how to succeed. But confusion comes into the minds of mankind when they get away from those rules, when they engage in risk-taking behaviors, when they eat foods that they were never designed to eat, when they harbor hatred in their minds for their neighbors, and so forth.
But he said the restaurant workers or other people that carry the parasite because they eat pork or they've handled it, they can pass it on to others. That's why Yahweh said, don't eat it and don't touch it, or you become an abomination, meaning you become abominable, meaning you can spread it, you can contaminate other people. Now, as the great Kahan Elias said, is that love? To eat something that you shouldn't eat and then infect others? Is it loving yourself?
I checked. They don't have the new prophetic words in yet, but it's coming soon. When it comes, you get one of those and you check it out and read it thoroughly and study. And use a Bible or a book of Yahweh, whatever you have, and you study that prophetic word. And you're going to see something. It's going to come to life right in front of your very eyes, okay?
Praise Yahweh. So we can see here that this work is growing and it's spreading. And one day these men and women are going to be making their way. Now that's just a little over 2 million people in the prison facilities right now. They have reached the lowest, so to speak, and they're looking to make a change. They're looking to go up. And we'll be here to offer them that change. So be ready. Be taking advantage of the opportunity that you have to be a teacher of righteousness, to learn what to teach and to teach what you've learned so that we can bring about this change not only in our lives, but in the lives of all who Yahweh sends to us. So may Yahweh bless your understanding. If you all please stand. I'd like to introduce to you another son of Israel, Abel Hawkins, the great Kohan Benjamin Hawkins.
Shalom, saints of Yahweh. You may be seated. May the peace of Yahweh be with each and every one of you. Well, we're going to go in another direction here. Actually, we're staying on the missionary, but we're going to take a little journey with numbers again, as you know. Okay, so if everyone would turn over to Acts 2:17, because this is a scripture that one of the great daughters of Israel, Abel, quoted in the young women's presentation. Acts 2:17. In fact, it was her scripture she started out with to start out that whole program. Acts 2:17. It's on page 841, and it says, "And it will come to pass in the last days, says Yahweh, I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters will prophesy, and your young men will see visions, and your old men will dream dreams." Acts 2:17. Now, you know where that comes from. It comes from the book of Yael. So let's turn back to Yael 2:28. Yael 2:28. These numbers should be familiar to some of you. If you've been listening to the stones, on the white stone sermons, Yael 2:28. It's on page 693, and it reads, "And it will come to pass afterward, I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh." That means all that are called out. Your sons and your daughters will prophesy, your old men will dream dreams, and your young men will see visions. Do you see that this has come to pass before your very eyes, saints of Yahweh? And isn't it amazing? Acts 2:17 and Yael 2:28. Well, you'll have to stay tuned for the 74 part at another time. I don't have time. If you could turn over now to Acts 17, of all places. Acts 17. I'll give you a page number, although you should know these by now. 858 and 859. I'll be on 859 on verse 26. Verse 26, "And he made from one blood all nations of men to dwell on all the face of the earth. And he has determined the times before appointed for them, and the boundaries of their habitation." The boundaries. Boundaries. You're all familiar with boundaries. If you know anything about the peaceful solution in the 5th grade program, it talks about boundaries and so on and so forth. Okay. Boundaries is a little bit what I'm going to talk about today, but I want to look up the words boundaries. Boundaries is word number 3734 in Strong's, and this is the Greek, because that's what the words in Strong's in the book 2, that's not where they're from, but that's what they trace back to in the Strong's. It says, compound to the base of 3725 and a derivative of 5087 means a limit placing. That means there's a limit on boundaries. Concretely, boundary line. And it's from 3725. 3725, it says, it's the Greek word horion, and it means a boundary line. And notice, one of the Thayer's Greek lexicon calls it a district, a land or a territory. But keep that word district in mind, because that's important today for my presentation that I'm giving you. Okay, now the word habitation in Acts 17:26, it means residence, the condition, habitation, dwelling, habitation, to cause to dwell, to send or bring into an abode, or a dwelling place, or a certain place, to send. As the missionary team is sent to certain places to present the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program, as the great son of Israel, Abel White Buffalo, gave you the definition of that term missionary, means to send out. Okay, so this is, I want you to notice something very amazing here. This is the area code of Austin, Texas. Y'all remember Revelation 5:12? I will grant you power. Remember that? Or Yahshua. Let's turn over there real quick and rehearse that. Revelation 5:12. It's found on page 974. And it says, saying with a loud voice, worthy is the Lamb who was slain to receive power and riches and wisdom and strength and honor and glory and blessing. And you remember the work that was done on the white stone, Revelation 2:17, Revelation 2:28, count 74, and you get to Revelation 5:12. We'll go over that later at another time, but I don't have time for it today. But isn't it amazing that the Austin area code, where we went to present the Peaceful Solution to the leaders in Austin, the area code is 512. And this was after that sermon was given. This was not before. Okay? Now, notice Houston, and the senator that honored us in the Texas legislature, that's her district, and she said that she was very appreciative of the work that we had done in her district. And notice what her area code is. 713. 713. Now, you know, if you think this is all coincidence, well, it is. If you know what the word coincident means. That Senator, Joan Huffman, you can go read about her. Let me show you her district number. This is Senate District 17, and it shows you can see all the borders here of the district, okay? And Houston, Texas, this area right here in Houston is part of her district, okay? This is Houston here, all through here. That's where the school is, okay? Now, okay, there's Senator Joan Huffman, the one that honored us in the Texas Senate. As you can see, she's District 17 senator. There's only about 31 senators in Texas, and isn't it amazing that the one where the Peaceful Solution is being taught full school-wide, okay, they're still teaching it, they've been teaching it all year with great results, is in her district, 17. Can we go to the next slide, please? Okay, all right. Now, what you're looking at here is Congressional District 28. Remember, y'all remember what the numbers on the stones of the white stone that Pastor received? Let's hear you. 17, 28, 74. Great. Okay, so District 28 extends from, it's dark in there. You can see the darkened area. It extends from San Antonio. In fact, it's in the very place that one of our deacons teaches a Peaceful Solution. It just so occurs it's in his area as well. And it extends all the way down. You'll see if you drop southwest, you'll see Laredo. You'll see Zapata down south of Laredo. You'll see Roma south of Zapata. These are all places that have accepted the Peaceful Solution, and we've gone there, I don't know how many times. We've been there 11 years teaching the Peaceful Solution, in District 28. Now remember, Yahweh sets the boundaries, the limits. Yahweh is the one that comes up with this plan. It's not our plan. We can't go where Yahweh doesn't allow us to go. There are set borders, there's set limits, okay? And we cannot go beyond that limit. That's District 28. And by the way, the congressman over that district we've met with many times in Washington, D.C. and in Laredo, Henry Cuellar, who is the brother of Judge Rosie Cuellar. He's over District 28. Next slide. Okay. An amazing thing is occurring here because, as you can see on the map there, this is District 74. And Eagle Pass, this is just northwest of Laredo, okay? It's just off the corner of District 28, District 74. And Eagle Pass is another place, if you all remember the missionary films, that we've gone back to more than once, okay? And that we taught the junior highs, all the junior highs, they had about 3 of them, and the high school, okay? In District 74. So what do you have? Now remember, these are all in the South. They're in South Texas. 17, 28, 74. And these are all places that the peaceful solution has been widely accepted. Nowhere else has it been that widely accepted. And I'm talking about in Texas. Can I have my next slide? Now we're going to go into a little something different. The other night, just before the Seder, on Sabbath, or it was on the Sabbath, pastor received a phone call, and he thought it was 6:13 when he got the call, but he actually believes now it was 6:15. Well, it was a double rainbow. If you'll look above that really bright rainbow, you'll see a second rainbow. That's the best picture we can get right now. There's pictures that are better than this, but just, bear with us a little bit. As you can see, it is a double rainbow, okay? Now, pastor saw the rainbow at 6:15. Somebody called him. They probably seen it at 6:13. I would venture to guess. My bet would be they saw it at 6:13 and got on their phone immediately and called pastor. But it doesn't matter because the definition for 6:15 is the same definition for 6:13. If you all remember, that was brought out before. And it means, band or bond. The 613 laws, that band, that bond that binds us together. Okay, now, pastor saw it at 6:15. Can you go to the next slide? This might be a little clearer for you. I want you to notice right in the middle, right smack dab in the middle of that rainbow is a very bright spot that you can see. Okay? Now, I would have had a microphone in my hand where I could actually show you, but what you're seeing in that picture, there's a dark area. There's a dark area, and it's a microphone. You remember the night that pastor sat up here on Seder night and he had the microphone in his hand? He wasn't up here. He was sitting back like this with a microphone. Y'all remember that? Y'all were here, right? Nobody missed that, did they? Pastor had a microphone in his hand, and if you'll notice, he's got the microphone and he's talking into the microphone. It's right in the middle. Now, I know sometimes it's really hard to see these pictures up here on the big screens because they pixelate a lot and things. But if you really focus on it, you will see it. Can you go to the next slide? Okay, 6:15. Well, that means to bind, okay, to bind. And it means to bind together. Can you go to the next? Okay, now, at 6:49 is when the first picture was actually taken with the camera, okay, at least the one that pastor has. 6:49, if you'll notice, it means nostrils. Wow, that tells us a lot, right? but it is from word number 639, if you'll notice, up on the top corner. So let's go to 639, the next definition. Okay. All right, so definition of 639 is face. Face. And if you look in the darkened area down below in that little box, it says the face and occasionally a person. Countenance, face. It also means suffering and worthy. If you'll notice on the bottom line, suffering, worthy. Can we go to the next slide? 650. The second picture was taken at 6:52. And now remember, this was just before sundown, okay? It was about an hour before sundown, and that's called like right around dusk, right? Well, that's what 6:52 means. It means darkness, gloom, dusk, dusk. It means spiritual unreceptivity, calamity. Now, there's a meaning behind that. Okay, I'm going to show you in a minute. Okay, darkness, gloom, dusk, because that's around the time. It's dark outside, isn't it? The cloud's dark. Looks kind of gloomy in that with that rainbow, around the rainbow. Okay, go to 6:51. That's where it comes from, 6:51, and it means to set as the sun, dusky, gloomy, and dark. Okay. Now, I want to tell you a little something Pastor passed on to me, and that is that at the time he was sitting up here on the stage and he was talking to all of us, somebody came to him and told him one of the priests was missing. One of the priests was missing, that they weren't here. And Pastor was very concerned, and he felt very gloomy at that time. Okay, like a gloominess came over him. Well, doesn't Yahweh have care for all the sheep? You know, if even one is missing, isn't he concerned about that one? Now, don't get in your mind that he wasn't rejoicing, because you can rejoice in your suffering, okay? And in your, which I'm going to show you in a minute. So, let's see, which word is this? Yeah, okay, so this was 6:51. It means gloomy and dark. But then the priest did show up, okay? And then Pastor, of course, was very excited, right? It's like that lost coin, or that, the parable of the sheep, the one sheep that's out missing and he goes looking for him, right? You all remember that, right? The righteous shepherd cares for the sheep. You know, I guarantee if Pope Francis was missing somebody, he wouldn't be out looking for him. He'd be out buying pizza. I guess the guy likes pizza. Okay, so 44:15. Oh, this, can you go to the next slide? That Sabbath was 4:15. Okay? And it means to eat salt. To eat salt. Now, you remember when you have a sacrificial meal, which every meal is, right? But we were getting ready to have the Seder meal. Do you think it was unsalted? And you have to remember, Leviticus 2:13 says every sacrifice must be seasoned with salt. But that's, there's more to it. That's the salt of the covenant, okay? That's offered with all meals. Turn to Matithia 5:13 real quick. Matithia 5:13. Should all know where it is. Matithia 5:13. Yeah, it's on page 731, and it says, "You are the salt of the earth. You, in the house of Yahweh, are the salt of the earth. But if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It's no longer fit for anything except to be cast out, to be trodden under the feet of man." And look at verse 14. Jump down to verse 14. "You are the light of the world." When you eat salt, do you know what it creates light within you? Keep that in your mind, because there's a reason you're being told this right now. You are the light of the world. A city which is set on a hill cannot be hidden. Let's look at side note G1 off to the right there. Side note G1. Let's see. G1? Or G7? No. Nothing is so. Oh, G1. It says, it's to the left, by the way. I'm sorry. Your office is to season men with the salt of the laws of Yahweh. Okay? And also, if you look at, you are the light of the world. You are the salt of the earth, okay? Keep that in your mind, light and salt. You know, salt is conducive to electricity. Did y'all know that? It's been brought out before. It's nothing new. But salt is conducive to electricity. Keep that in your mind, too. Turn over to Isaiah 49:6. Isaiah 49:6. I'm almost done. It says, it's on page 561, Isaiah 49:6. And this is speaking of Israel, the witness Israel. If you notice back up in verse 3, it says, and he said to me, you are my servant, O Israel, through whom I will be glorified. Look at verse 6. And he said, it is not enough that you should be my servant to raise up the tribes of Jacob and to restore the protected of Israel. I will also give you for a light to the Gentiles, so you may be my salvation to the ends of the earth. And if you'll go to the next slide, it's from word number 4414, that 4415, 4415. And if you notice, it means to salt, season, to be salted. And notice at the bottom, it says the Greek equivalent word is word number what? 217. 217. 217. Let me show you one more thing before I go. This is really amazing. Now, we wanted to get a copy of that when the Senate honored us. And by the way, the Senate did not honor just the men that were there. It was everybody here. Everybody here and everybody that supports the work, that's in prison, that's in the faraway countries. They honored the whole house of Yahweh when they did that. We were just there. Somebody had to be there while you were cooking the food, washing the dishes, cleaning the toilet, all that, right? But we ordered a copy of the Senate's film that they put it up on the archives. And they asked us if we would like a copy of it. And we said, of course. Their version of it, their filming of it might have been more clear. So they sent us this letter with this disc. And I want you to notice something. This is from Senator Joan Huffman's office. Here it is. Texas Post Office there, Capitol Station. Notice what's written as the last four prefixes of the area code. Area, or is that the area code? No, the zip code. 5120. Y'all remember Jeremiah 51:20, right? Israel is my battle axe, right? You remember that was brought out? That was brought out before we went on this trip. Okay? Before we went on this trip. Now I want you to notice one other thing before I go. Look here. This is the disc that was sent to us. Texas Senate, the 84th Legislative Conference. This year, 2015, is the 84th legislative session. 12 times 7 is 84. I told you that pastor's in his 12th, 7th year period right now, and he'll be 84 years old at the end of that period. Now, how is it that the state of Texas, in their 12th 7, remember, Yahweh determines the times. 7 years is 84 months. You know that, right? 7 years is 84 months. 84 moons. Keep these numbers in your mind. You're going to be hearing some more about this. But at this time, I got to get off the stage because I know you all are getting hungry for some more. Right? We're not going anywhere, so... But it's been a real honor to speak to you. Keep these things in your mind. These numbers are very important. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to the great Kohan Ilya Hyler Hawkins.
Shalom, everyone. You may all be seated. Please quickly turn over to Luke chapter 10 on page 794. Think about the theme that has been going this feast so far. We understand this race now. Of course, we're running this race together, and it's a race of two systems. And Yahweh said from the beginning that in a court agreement, remember what pastors brought out? These things were in court's agreements of heaven. Yahweh said, I will let you go your way. And in the end, we will see what your end will be. And then Yahweh said that I will tell you beforehand how this is going to work out. And think about all the challenges that Yahweh's people has faced from the beginning, from Abel all the way down to this last work. All of the doubt, all of the many, many people that were come, but the very so few that were chosen. Remember, even Yahweh has a choice. Everyone has a choice. But truly, Yahweh leaves that choice up to us. He gives us opportunities, and then we have to step through that door, that open door that was open for our great teacher. And he's standing there saying, come, follow me. Being a righteous shepherd, also leading the flock he's been given. Yes, we are jewels in his crown, the position that he's been given. We are jewels unto his crown. And we are workers. We are laborers to help and assist in this work. But look quickly to Luke chapter 10 and look at verse 2. Look at verse 2. And very familiar scripture, and it says, therefore he said to them, speaking of Yeshua, he said to them, the harvest is truly great, but the laborers are few, so pray that the owner of the harvest sends out laborers into his harvest. Now quickly look over at the footnotes that go with that scripture that we've been given. If you look, it says the harvest, G3, it says, meaning the great number of people who are ready to be drawn into Yahweh. We truly can see with all the work going around all over this world, over the seas, through the internet, from the satellites, as Pastor has made mention, these things coming down from heaven even through this last generation's technology, this world is being drawn out. This system is shifting over to a righteous system. They're starting to leave. When you see the news reports, as Pastor brought out earlier this week, that the churches are starting to become empty, you can say Babylon is fallen because it is truly falling apart. People don't want this suffering. They don't want to see the misery that is in their life. And now they're being told, listen, there's another way. You do have a choice. Unlike what you've been told your whole life, you do have a choice. You do not have to go the way of continual war. But this is important for us. This is important for us. Look at the word laborers. It says G4. That is the preachers or the teachers. The preachers are the teachers. Yahweh, Yeshua has said that, listen, I've done my job of setting these people here and making them ready for you. Now I need you to do your job and bring this harvest in. The field is ready to be harvested. We need teachers. We need preachers. We need those who will learn what to teach so they can teach what they've learned to bring in the harvest. Think about what it would look like before Yahweh if we walk away from this job. If you remember just a few months ago, Pastor brought out about the fields in California that were full of fruit. There were also some in Georgia and some in Alabama, full of fruit. There were strawberry plantations that they were showing. And due to the workers that were there, of course, they being considered second-grade citizens, or not citizens at all, but they were the only people that would come do it. And what were the farmers saying whenever they were not letting those workers go out? No one else would do it. What occurred? The fruit literally rotted in the field. Now, do you think Yahweh is going to let this fruit, this harvest rot? No, he's not. In fact, we need to take our jobs very serious. Turn over to Matithia. Praise Yahweh. Turn over to Matithia. Matithia chapter 9. Matithia chapter 9. Now, of course, one thing that we can all agree upon, I'm sure, have we not been given what we need to be teachers? Have we not been given what we need to be teachers? Yes, we have. We've been given the greatest teacher on the face of this earth. Keep in mind, Yahweh said that he would not give his glory to another. He didn't say he wouldn't give it to anyone. He said he wouldn't give it to anyone other than who he chose. And that is the one sent. And the glory of Yahweh can be shown through us when we follow the one sent. And that's exactly what Isaiah 48 speaks about, as we brought out before. But looking at Matthew 9 in verse 36, it says, "And when he saw the multitudes, he was moved with compassion for them." He was moved with compassion for them. Now remember what compassion is. In the Peaceful Solution on the Building More Excellence unit on page 20, there's a list of positive character traits, and it says to care about the needs of others. And remember what it says in the beginning of the responsibility unit. You can give a man a fish and feed him for a day, or you can teach a man to fish, and you can feed him for a lifetime. Now this other system will give you a meal and say, be warm and be fed, and now get out of my church and get out of my way. Truly look at the Vatican. Can you measure the millions, if not billions, if not trillions of dollars that's set in that church? But every so often, the public relations will bring in some poor people, wash their feet, give them a meal, and back out they go. With that kind of monetary value, how do they even have poor people in the city? You know, the people here that are considered the poorest of the poor are the richest of the rich. Would you rather have the monetary value or the knowledge? The knowledge, yes, of course. But once again, they were moved with compassion. Remember, Pastor has told us we must become compassionate. We must care about the needs of others, but we have to learn how to care about the needs of others. We can't just go out and give a man a fish. We have to teach people how to do jobs. We have to teach people, just as we were taught. All of us were taught how to fend, how to make a family grow, how to make a group come together. We run this race as one body. You know, when someone falls, we can't look and say, well, I guess they're not going to complete the race. We're going to complete it together. And we haven't seen together yet because they're still coming. There's more to come. The multitudes are going to come, and we do have the answers. Through our great teacher, we have the answers. Notice it says, he had compassion for them, for they were distressed and helpless like sheep without a shepherd. This world today are like sheep without a shepherd. The one that they look to is truly a sheep, or yes, a wolf in sheep's clothing, looking who he can devour. And they truly look to him. But people are turning away. They're realizing the misery that comes. But verse 37, it says, then he said to his disciples, the harvest is truly plenteous, but the laborers, the teachers are few. Therefore pray. Notice pray. Don't just assume. Don't just sit back and go, they got it. No, pray that to the chief harvester that he will send out laborers into his harvest. We are the light to this world when we follow underneath, when we are a son or a daughter of Yisrael Hawkins, when we learn what to teach so we can teach what we've learned, we become part of that light. Just as that silver cord, as Ecclesiastes said, as long as we feed this, it lasts. But if we turn away, it's broken, and to the dust we will return from which we came. That's a guarantee to us. Look over to 1 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians and chapter 9. 1 Corinthians in chapter 9, it's found on page 892. Found on page 892, and we're going to quickly look at verse 24, starting at verse 24. It says, running the race, obtaining the reward. Do you not know that those who run in a race all compete, but only one receives the prize? And in this race, there's only two systems. We have Babylon and we have Zerubbabel, the one who opposes Babylon. From Abel to Yisrael Hawkins is that system of Zerubbabel, those who oppose Babylon, that complete system. As Hebrews chapter 11 says, that not even they have received their reward. There's only one who has ascended into the heavens at this time, the first of many. So you run your race that you may lay hold of the prize and make it yours. That's as a body, as us all together. And everyone who competes conducts himself temperately in all things. Now they compete to obtain a perishable crown, but we for an imperishable crown. And that's what the systems are doing, because what they seek, they're seeking peace. They're forever seeking peace. And they truly believe that this peace will come through war. But you know what? We have world leaders. We have people like President Obama, President Vladimir Putin, who we know are keeping up with the peaceful solution. We know they are. You can listen to what they say, and they acknowledge it openly. And President Obama's kind of saying it openly right now without even holding back. And look at the agreements that are taking place. Does it look like Congress and the Senate are agreeing with what he wants? No, they're not. But don't be fooled when the Pope says that he's glad this agreement has come up in Iran either. He's a wolf in sheep's clothing. Watch carefully. Watch. In verse 25 it says, or verse 26, "Therefore I do not run like a man running aimlessly. I do not fight like a man who beats the air. No, I discipline my body." I discipline my body. How can we discipline our character? How can we discipline our body? By coming and sitting at the feet of the greatest teacher on the face of the earth, by coming to the classes, by reading the newsletters, the prophetic words, the 7 steps that the future priest gave at the beginning of feasts, the 7 things that we can use to apply to ourselves. We have to discipline, we have to train, we have to remove the things that are negative and accentuate the positive. So we discipline our bodies and bring it into subjection, so that after I have preached, after I have taught, as the Apostle Shaul said, to others, I myself will not be disqualified. So we have to keep ourselves in check, and it's a continual battle. It's not like, okay, you gave a class on this, you are perfected, sin no more, you're done. No, the challenges come, don't they? It's usually what you speak about last is what you're confronted with first. But we have to understand, when you make a mistake or you make a bad choice, you feel bad enough about it already, right? Do you really need someone to come kick you in the ribs a little bit more? No, you don't. But sometimes we do need someone come to us and say, listen, you're stepping out of line and you're jeopardizing what Yahweh's offering you. And we need to be humble enough to acknowledge that. When that occurs, we need to listen. We need to adhere, because that is Yahweh. That counselor, that Kohana, that judge, that Kohan, that head judge that was just sent to me was sent by Yahweh to help me. And we must become, as a child, and take correction, because it's only done out of love. And it's done out of true concern. And we have to do that as a body. Look over to Revelations real quick. Revelations chapter 3. And if you remember verse 8 is speaking to pastor, saying, I know your works. Behold, I have set before you an open door. No man, no pope, nobody can shut it. For you have a little strength, but have kept my word and have not denied my name. And look over to verse 11. Behold, I come quickly. This will be, remember what we've been taught, this will be a short work. Don't think that it's going to take forever to get 2 billion people here. Really, when you received and you decided you were coming to the house of Yahweh, how long did it take? We got a prophetic word in the mail and we decided we were going. That was it. Life changed from that point on. We have a quick work, so hold fast that to which you have, that no man, no beastly system, nobody who tries to tell you not to listen to Yisrael Hawkins, nobody who tells you that the house of Yahweh doesn't have the truth, don't let that person take your position, your crown, because once you throw it away, it's gone. We've been given many opportunities, and we have the answer. And at this time, I want to turn it over to some young men who have a message for some world leaders.
We have the answers. We can help you fix society's problems. We can help bring peace to the world. We have the answers. We can help you fix society's problems. We can help bring peace to all nations.
One last time, let's on three, let's let everyone know that we have the answers. They're watching all around the world right now. So on three, we have the answers. 1, 2, 3. We have the answers. Praise Yahweh. At this time, we'll have closing prayer.